Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Meet and Greet show with yours truly, Aisha. Now today I'm here to meet an intelligent veteran lawyer and Islamic scholar who uses Islamic teachings to address challenges facing our society. For example, female genital mutilation, gender-based violence, politics, amongst very many other topics. He goes by the name Sheikh Ibrahime Lethome.
His contribution goes as far as being the author of Delinking Female Genital Mutilation from Islam, a publication that goes in depth to prove FGM is not an Islamic culture. He is currently the Secretary General of the Center for Sustainable Conflict Resolution, mostly concerned with addressing violent extremism. He is a committee member of the Jamia Mosque and he is also the chairman of Sharia Advisory Committee, KCB.
I am at the Karai Indian and Swahili cuisine with our very own Sheikh Ibrahime Lethome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aisha.
Now, Sheikh, who are you? Describe yourself in a minute.
My names are Sheikh Ibrahime Lethome. I'm also a lawyer by profession. Born and brought up in Naivasha, Masai. That's where we come from. Many people don't know where I come from. Sometimes they place me in Northeastern Coast Province, but I'm from Rift Valley. My parents are from Narok, but I was born and brought up in Naivasha. My parents became Muslims when we were small, so we moved together, alhamdulillah, into Islam. Went to school in Naivasha.
Yeah.
Then actually I went to the first Asian school that allowed non-Asians. It was called Naivasha Central Asian School. So I went there, then I went to Naivasha DEB school. 1973, shifted to Central Province. I finished my primary school there. Went to secondary school in Mwea, where rice comes from. Then high school, Kiambu. Then after that, I went to Pakistan. Currently, I live in Kajiado.
Okay.
But I have a home in Sagana. I'm in charge of the mosque and the Muslim village in Sagana. So that's my home also. So Naivasha, where I was born, Kajiado, where I live today, Sagana, where I grew up and went to school, and work in Nairobi currently. A member of Jamia Mosque Committee.
Amazing. Now, I want to know, how was your life growing up in Naivasha as a little boy?
First of all, a little bit difficult because we were living in a village that was called Kambi Somali. So predominantly Somalis, mostly the Ishaqs, who came from British Somaliland. They were living in that village. We were almost the only Muslims who were non-Somali, so very difficult. Again, when my parents became Muslims, they were cut off from the family. So it's like we grew up isolated from the rest of the family, the larger family, you know, the African way, extended family. So I grew up, so I could not fully fit into the Muslim community because I'm not a Somali. And again, I could not go back to Masai land because it's like you people have embraced the religion of the warrior, Dinia warrior. So that's how it was. So it was difficult. Yeah, seclusion. It was difficult, very difficult, Naivasha.
Tell me about some of the difficulties, especially when you went to madrasa.
The madrasa I went to was what we call Duksi, but we used to call it Mal'ama. So the Ma'alim, I still remember his name. You can imagine, this is the 60s, but I can remember. Ma'alim Ahmed. At one time, I thought he's not a human being because of the kind of beating. So it was Saturday and Sunday, we have to go to the Duksi. The Quran is being taught in Kisomali. Alif la Koreve, Alif la Hosteve, Alif la Gode. I know you don't know what that means. That is Alif Fataha, Alif Kasrai, Alif Duma, but in Kisomali.
Okay.
I couldn't, it was difficult for me. Then the beating, so I'm always scared of the beating. So actually at one time, I would even pray. On Friday night, I'll pray that I fall sick on Saturday and Sunday so that I don't go to madrasa. So the first experience in madrasa was so bad, I felt that it's the wrong place, I don't want to be there. And that's why, to date, I don't like children being beaten in madrasas because it made me hate the Quran. And many people run away from madrasa because of the way they are treated there. It's good to discipline, but not extreme, to the extent that children fear. I'll tell you, Aisha, there's one surah in the Quran. Until I had an opportunity of understanding what the surah means, I thought it was revealed for punishment. Surah to Shams. Because anytime you do a mistake, the teacher will recite Surah to Shams and he'll be beating you and the other children will be pinching you. Even at home, your mother will tell you, ukinikosea, nitaambia mwalimu akusomee Washams. So it's like Washams is a punishment. Now, until I studied and understood, alhamdulillah, I knew it was a misconception. It was wrong. So madrasa for me, not a good experience.
At that time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bad experience.
What role did your parents play in your life?
Okay, they were not very educated, both of them. My father, I think, had gone up to class 4 those days. My mother never went to school at all. Allah yarhamuhum, both of them are dead. My father used to encourage me a lot to go to school, education. He felt he was not educated himself, but he felt the only way out is education. So we were 6 of us and kept on encouraging us to go to school. So he was very good. My mother, a disciplinarian. Oh, okay. She used to have, Maasai ladies, how they discipline their children. There is a rope made out of cow hide. From the back of the cow, there is something that is always smeared with oil, Vaseline. That is what she used to discipline us. So she'll always point at that. But I'm happy because many of my age mates went astray into drinking, mirror and other things and refused school. But my mother, we used to fear her. My father was not a disciplinarian, but mother, may Allah have mercy on her soul.
Amen.
She was a very strong disciplinarian. So that is, she guided me not to go astray. And remember growing up in a majengo, sort of, a lot of bad things, because I could see changa being brewed there. And a lot of bad things happening there. So without an iron fist, you'll go astray very easily. So that's how we grew up.
Now, what led you to your career choice of becoming a lawyer?
My dream was to do something very practical. I've always wanted to do things with my hands. Even now, I do a lot of things with my hands. So I wanted either to do something to do with engineering or medicine, or veterinary medicine. I love animals, even now. Maybe that is the Maasai in me. Then after my A-levels, the day my father died, among the people who came to condole with us is a gentleman who has passed now. He was called Nurumze, Allah yarhamu. He passed away last year. He was the vice chairman of Supkem, Central Province. And he said there is a new university established in Pakistan. They're looking for Muslim students who have finished A-levels to go and study there. And he came and he said, back again to study Islam. He encouraged me to try. So I tried. I went there. 9 long years I was there. So when I went there, the choices were to do Islamic studies, Islamic economics, or Sharia and law. And because I've always liked the issue of knowing my rights, I decided I'm going to do Sharia and law. Sharia, the Islamic law, and then the other law, the contemporary law. And that's why it took so long to do the course. So I can say it was by default or by Allah's design. And again, I wanted to discover now this Islam because the first year was Arabic. Now, the more I learned Arabic, the more now questions about Islam became clear for me. Now I decided now, because after the first year now we were supposed to choose what course to do. There are people who decided to go to economics, Islamic studies or Arabics. And I decided now I want to go to Sharia, no law, and I want to do Islamic law. What exactly does it say? Because I grew up believing that this is a very barbaric law, Sharia law. Because of the background, an Islamic background, the environment, and my experience as a small child. But now I had an opportunity to read for myself. And I met people from different countries. And then Pakistan then was going through a transition. Remember, that was 1984. That's when I went to Pakistan, long before you were born. And you know, many people don't know that Pakistan actually means Pak, means pure, Stan, land, the land of the pure. It's the only ideological state in the world today. A country that is created because of a religion. It was created because of Islam. So it was interesting also to do Sharia at that time because they were now trying to reform their laws to suit into the Islamic setup. So again, it was exciting for me now to study the laws because you had also to study the constitution of Pakistan, the history of Pakistan and the rest. So that's what made me go into that career.
It broadened your perspective.
Yeah, it broadened my perspective. Again, I wanted to come back to Kenya and look at how I can advise Muslims on how to live in a country that is not ruled by Islamic law, but at the same time practice Islam in the country. So I thought this is an opportunity. The rest is history, as they say, Aisha.
Yeah. So now let me just take you back a bit. In Pakistan, you faced a little bit of racism. Tell me about that.
I remember 1984, Pakistanis had not seen very many people who don't look like them.
Okay.
So the first word I learned there is kale, kale, kale. Kale means black. Eh?
Yeah.
And sometimes you're in a matatu. We used to call them flying coach. I was in Islamabad, the capital city. And you get into that public transport and everybody is looking at you. And somebody would want even pass near you and touch your hair.
Okay.
This kinky hair, is it still wool or what is it?
Yeah.
And some of us, they would even want to touch your skin and see whether, okay? So you can imagine those who are darker than me, what they were going through. They hadn't seen so many of us. And again, I'm happy our geography helps us understand people from other countries. That's when I realized our system of education is very good. It helps us understand people beyond our borders. So I knew there are people who are Asians, people who are white, people who are yellow. We knew all that. But for some of them, it was not, except those now in the big towns. But you go to the villages, they wonder where you've come from. Do you have, somebody will give you food and ask you, do you have this kind of food? For God's sake, this is chawal, it is rice, the rice I eat every day. We grow it in where? But on the other hand, let me be very fair. Some of them were very kind. I'll give you this example. When I went through Karachi by Pakistani PIA, the international flight of the Pakistan. I still remember the green, and it's beautiful. And by the way, the air ticket was only 4,000 shillings, one way, from Nairobi to Pakistan. So I went through Karachi. I arrived in Karachi at night, and then I thought everybody is tabligh, because they were all in sharwal kameez. I didn't know that sharwal kameez is the traditional way of dressing. I thought it is for Jamaat Tabligh. Now I was wondering, why is everybody Jamaat Tabligh at the airport and everybody? But actually that is I realized sharwal kameez is the national dress of Pakistan. Somebody sat next to me, asked me what I'm going to do in Islamabad, the flight between Karachi and Islamabad in the morning. Now this young man here, African, he greeted me in English and he asked me what I've come to do. Well, I said, I've come to study in Islamic University. He said, then this is very good. You're going to learn a lot of Islam. And he actually gave me 50 rupees.
Okay.
That's a lot of money then. Yeah, so that was the first experience. Then the other experience, for us, people who have never gone to Asia, there were Hindis we see.
Yeah.
The dukawalas, those are the shopkeepers. For the sake of those who don't understand dukawalas, people who are factory owners and the rest. I never thought there is an Asian beggar. But when I landed at the airport, as I was going out, I saw an Asian woman with a child. And I was shocked. Can there be a Hindi who is a beggar? Then I realized, oh yes, those who have managed to fly to Kenya and other places in the world, they are different. So again, it's a learning process. When you travel outside the country, you learn a lot of things. The first few days, I would say, I was homesick and even wanted to fly back to Kenya. It was in winter. It was so cold, Aisha, and Islamabad is next to the Margala Hills. It's so cold. Sometimes it even snows in the mountains. It's near a place called Mari. Now this winter, it's the first time I'm out of the country. I looked at the ticket. It was one way, so it had expired. I still have that ticket with me. 19th November, 1984, long before some people here were born. I looked at it, it had expired, and that was good. Because by the end of the year, I was so used to Pakistan. I felt it's my home, I don't want to go back home. And that's why I stayed for 5 years without coming back. I only came back for 2 months, then went back. Stayed for another 4 years, almost going to 10 years, but my mother now was old and wanted to be back. Pakistan, actually, even now, when you mention Pakistan, homesick, I feel homesick. I miss Pakistan. Of course, after I left there in 1993. I've gone back once.
Amazing. Now we'll be taking a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. For those of you who are joining us right now, I am with our very own Sheikh Ibrahime Lethome, who is a lawyer and Islamic scholar. In the first segment, he spoke about his life growing up, studying in Pakistan, and now let's get to know more about his story. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Aisha.
Now, Sheikh, how was your first time doing law here in Kenya?
Not easy, because number one, we were among the first few Muslims who had done both Islamic law and then Sharia law. And then, of course, before you can practice in Kenya, you have to go to the Kenya School of Law. That's a requirement. Even for those who study in University of Nairobi, you must go through that, because your degree is considered as an academic degree. So you need that professional certificate. So for 1 year, you do your pupillage, and also you do a course at the Kenya School of Law. It wasn't easy because they could not understand some of the subjects that I had done. And that's why actually we were given a lot of subjects to do. Then that was now from the outside now. But now from within the Muslim community, I looked like a contradiction within myself.
Okay.
You're talking about being a Sharia student. You've done the first degree, the second degree in Islamic law and the rest. And now you're talking about law. So people start asking you, how can you mix the two? You know, that was something that really disturbed me. So some people felt that there is a conflict. But later on, I came to discover, actually, I am better off than the others. I'm happy today there are so many quite a number of young people who have done that, also the same course. So it's like we were the pioneers. People there was Saleh Kanyeki who had come from Sudan. Then I was the second one. So we were very few.
Yeah.
When a client comes to me and they are Muslims, because most of the clients will be Muslims, you're able to advise them now, these are the Islamic limits, okay? You're fighting for your rights, but these are the Islamic limits. So it wasn't easy. To the extent that I started doubting whether I'm doing the right thing. And fortunately, I had an opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia, and I met the late Mufti of Saudi Arabia, and I wanted to ask him about this. Because some people are telling me, you're wearing that tie. You know the tie looks like a cross. Mavazi gani or for a sheikh like you? So it's like you are helping in advancing a law that is not in conformity with the Sharia. Okay. Having lived in Pakistan for all that long, of course, I could easily be influenced and feel, in Pakistan they're trying now to bring in Sharia law, and any laws that are in conflict with the Islam, they are null and void. But then I realized, I'm in Kenya, this is Kenya. We cannot apply the law, Islamic law, exactly the way it is applied in Pakistan. I joined Jamia in 1994. It was difficult, but when I went and met the Mufti, actually he asked me, are there Muslims living in Kenya? Yes. Are they subjected to the same laws? I said yes. He said, actually, you need some of you to study law so that you can guide the Muslim community and also help them understand the laws of the country. But the guiding principle should be this. Don't defend a person who confesses to you that they are wrong. You should not stand with the zalim, because the Islamic guiding principle is that you rescue your brother when he's the oppressor or the oppressed. You rescue them when they are oppressors by telling them not to oppress. But you see, in the legal profession, it doesn't matter whether somebody is guilty or not. Your work is to defend them. The person could even be a murderer. Somebody will come and tell you, Aisha, you're a lawyer. My brother is charged with this. Your work is just to get them out, create some doubt in the minds of the court, and they are free. So he told me, no, don't stand with the oppressors. Then when I came back now, I felt I'm free now to do it. So that was the difficult, from within and outside. So within the Muslim community, it's like you're doing the wrong thing. Mostly they came to accept us fully during the review process, because now we were part of the review process of the constitution and looking at the rights of Muslims there. And now with the legal mind, advising the Muslims on how we can secure our rights in the constitution. Now,
Sheikh, you are currently married to one wife and have previously been polygamous.
Oh, yes.
What happened?
Okay, I got married in 1993. The same year I came back from Pakistan to the first wife. Then after that, of course, I wanted to implement that sunnah, because there is permission in the Quran. You can marry up to 4. So I got married. It wasn't very easy, Aisha. It was difficult. Maybe I was in the wrong, or she was in the wrong. But what I can say now, it could not work. 5 years, and then one daughter. it could not work. So we decided to part. But we are very good friends now, bringing up the daughter.
What are the challenges that you are facing? Here you have 2 wives, 2 homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Challenge number 1 is to break the news to the first wife.
Okay.
That is a tsunami. And I want to tell the young people out there, those who are planning to get married to a second wife, be prepared now to face that. And you know why it is a big issue? Let me start by blaming the men themselves. The Muslim men sometimes take this as a punishment to the first wife. And again, they feel, they don't give considerations to what the effects will be on the first wife. It is allowed. This is Allah's law and we cannot change it. But it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So breaking the news to the first wife, it wasn't easy. And of course, her reaction. Then Muslim women, now they see it as something, to the extent you find women coming together to go and give condolences to her. Tunaenda kumpa pole. At one time I asked one, before I got into it, mnaenda kumpa pole, amefiliwa na nani? Is there a death? So you don't know the pain of a co-wife, of sharing a husband. So I think it is we, because the way we practice it, that have made it that difficult. So it was difficult. Let me tell young people there, don't jump into it just because others are doing it. Think very well whether actually you need to go into it and the effect it will have on your other marriage. You have to be prepared for that. And the Muslim women, if there is need for your husband to marry, please just understand. And you know what? Because of the lack of understanding, what that has led to, there are so many secret marriages. I say secret, not that they have not fulfilled the preconditions of a valid marriage, but it's like the second wife is unknown to the other family. Why? Because the husband is always fearing, if the other wife knows, what will happen? So you live a lie. You end up living a lie. Naenda kazi Mombasa. She packs for you some kanzus and you know you're actually going to the other wife. You know? So the other one knows, but this other one, the first one doesn't know where you're going. So you live a lie. You can imagine if you fall sick and you're in the other house. How are you going to lie? You know, there are children there. You receive a call when you're sitting with the other wife. Do you go out there? Yet she's your legally wedded wife. So you have to consider all these things.
Sheikh, what are your views on cultural practices such as FGM, GVB, and you find that the Muslim community, most of them, they're still stuck to it. Why is it so?
Yeah, one thing, Aisha, we have to appreciate. Culture is part of, it's part of us as human beings. Every community has its culture. I have my culture as a Maasai, and I also have the Islamic culture, because all of us as Muslims, we have that common culture, Islamic culture. I am totally against condemning culture and seeing culture as a bad thing. Culture is good. But then not every cultural practice is good. So depending on the times you are living in and also your faith, because faith comes first. So my first culture is Islam now. But I would hate anybody to tell me to discard the Maasai culture. I know you'll ask me why your ears not cut up and why you're not in shukas and the rest. There's some cultures ambao naweza kusema they are beyond. We are beyond that now. So we need to sieve the cultures. We have those cultures that are good, the cultures that are not good, harmful cultural practices. Like now, God created you with ears without lobes. Why do you want now to damage them and make them so long? God created you with hair. Why do you want make it like the Maasai women? The most beautiful one of them, anyoe kabisa kipara, then you smear with oil and the rest. Okay, then the issue of mutilating parts of the body, unless maybe there is a good reason for it, medical or maybe religious. Then the issue of like forcing young girls to get married. Mostly it's not the men. I hardly hear of men who have been forced to get married. It's the girls. Early and forced marriages. And you know the way it's done in some cultures, it's like you have no say at all. You talked about Muslims still holding firm on certain cultural practices. I won't say all Muslims. I know it's certain ethnic communities that happen to be Muslims. The issue of female genital mutilation. It's because there is, first of all, a confusion between what is cultural and what is Islamic.
Now, there is a lack of mentorship in the men world. What is your take on this?
You see, there's been a lot of focus on now what is called affirmative action for the girl child. It's because of our patriarchal system as Africans or this part of the world. So people realize that the girl child has been left backwards. The girl child has been discriminated against. So there have been a lot of efforts in the last 2 or 3 decades. Girl child, girl child. Now, they have been empowered and the boy child has been neglected.
Okay.
So you find that is one of the reasons. And we need to empower both. Remember, this girl is growing up very empowered. They need also a young man, a boy who is also empowered. That's why you see many career women now. Well educated, well polished, religious, but the young boys fear. How do I go? I'm just a Form 4. And you want me to marry this PhD girl or this pilot or this news anchor in Horizon. They'll run away from you. So we need to empower both. Yeah.
Now, what difficulties do you face being a Maasai and a lawyer?
Many Maasais don't appreciate that I'm a Maasai. They don't believe I'm a Maasai. Even when I was joining the commission, it took a minister who is dead now, William Olentimama, to convince the government I am a Maasai because he happened to be my neighbor in Narok, knows my parents. It was then even this name Lethome. By the way, the Lethome is corrupted. It's supposed to be Ole Tome. But because I grew up in Kikuyu land, that's why it was corrupted. So they will not understand you being a Muslim, not only a Muslim scholar, standing up and being a Maasai. They find that to be very difficult to appreciate. So I find myself lost. When I'm with the Maasais, they don't fully appreciate me. They even say, Ile Maasai warrior. I don't know what tribe that is, Maasai warrior. When I'm with the Muslims, I also feel sometimes out, Ile Maasai. And that's why maybe I've never been able to vie for any political seat because I have no constituency. My only constituency are the Muslims. For me, I find it nice because it's an opportunity for me to prove to them that Islam is a religion that cuts across all communities. So that is one thing I do. And of course, I have no political ambitions.
Now, apart from being a lawyer and an Islamic scholar, what do you like doing for fun?
For fun, of course, the Maasai in me, taking care of my cows. I love that. And watching wild animals. Any movies to do with wild animals, I love that. I can watch that very much. And then giving Islamic talks. I like giving Islamic talks. And for me, not just talks preparing people to go to heaven. No. Religious talks to help people use religion to address social problems. That's why I use Islam to talk about FGM, Islam to talk about violent extremism, Islam to talk about GBV, Islam to talk about the rights of the children and the rest. For me, this one is my hobby. I love doing that.
Aisha, you just mentioned that that's what you love doing, but why is it that other scholars do not embrace that idea?
I grew up in a country that is Islamic, but not only theory, but practical also. And even some of the lecturers, like there's one Professor Dr. Anis Ahmed, he inculcated that in us. And he said, and also looking at the history of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he would use the sermons to remind us about going to heaven and also remind us how to sort out issues affecting us, current affairs. So I think it's because of the system they went through, most of them. Yeah. Then the other thing that helps me also, many people don't know, I'm a trained teacher also.
Wow.
I have a degree in education. I got it from the University of Punjab in Lahore in Pakistan.
What is your final message to people out there?
The message out there is, number one, we need to know that we are living in a world where there is diversity, ethnic, religious, racial diversity. And for me, I believe it's not accidental. It is by God's divine design. It is Allah who wanted us to be like that. Had He wanted, all of us would belong together. So what we need to do is have that mutual respect for each other. Because we are living in a world that anything small can trigger conflict, either inter-community or inter-ethnic or interfaith conflict. The only way to avoid that is respect the rights of the others. Understand others. Why do they do whatever they do the way they do them? And help them also understand. And as a Muslim, I say, let your character speak for you more than your word of mouth.
Now we have come to the end of the meet and greet show, and as Sheikh Ibrahime Lethome has said, let your character speak louder than your words. I've been your host, Aisha Khan.
We give thanks and praise to Allah for what we are. Mashallah, tabarakallah.